Hello guys, welcome back for another video. In this video I will be working on the Ammor racks. You could just see that I have taken them out of the Nashorn and taken them apart. First I have assembled them. I told you I would only tack weld them because we are not 100% sure that the dimensions were correct. And it turned out that there are some slight differences, a few centimeters. It needs to be a little bit wider and a little bit lower. This is one of the side plates, but the major difference that we found out, that is I could have seen it on the picture, but it was like the picture was like here on the inside, and here there's a little corner that angles with the same angle as the superstructure. And yeah, knowing that this was straight, I thought it would all be straight. So this dimension we knew, but not the bottom dimension, so we couldn't see the difference. So I have to change that. So this plate will be a little bit wider and get the angle, and the bottom piece will be a little bit longer, and that's the main difference. Yeah, so it's a bit of work, but we knew that that could happen, so that's why only a few tack welds, so it's easy to take apart and fix the mistake. But at least then we had something to show at Millitracks, having the Ammor racks in the back, and that was important to us to show you, especially the audience at Millitracks, that there is progress. Yeah, so there's a lot of things we have to change. This we knew, the locking mechanism, that it was not the correct one, but we didn't know exactly how to make the original ones, or the copy of them. But we do now. This cutout will also be in the cover plates, and then there will be a strip, and then a latch will go through this opening here and attach to the cover plate. With a turn screw like a butterfly nut, so yeah, you can tighten them down quite easily, and it will also be a bit forward. This one was quite far back, therefore the part that is, you have like a baffle inside the superstructure, and this butts up against it on one side. So this one we could hardly reach, and the original ones are a lot further forward because of that. So I have to make some changes. Also the back plate, it needs to get an angle at the top bit. I think it's about this much. So all those changes I will prepare for, then go to the guy with the brake press, bend everything and weld everything back together, see if it's all correct, and then finish weld it. I will put a link on the right hand top of the screen of the old video of the first part making the Ammor rack, so you can see that. And yeah, for now I will prepare all these parts to fix them and to make the Ammor rack as it should be, and then the next step is get all the internal parts. I have prepared some of the parts. The top plate, it has, I hope you can see it, not really. I have prepared some of the parts. The top plate is like this, and this angle is now 90 and it should be 72. So that's a small change. Simple enough, cleaned up the plate, get the paint off where we need to bend it, all the tack welds cleaned off. The bottom and back plate is one piece, it's like this. So it has a small lip on this side. What I have done, if I make it a little bigger, so this is that lip. And the piece I made, it needs the part needs to be a bit longer, a few centimeters. So what I have done is it needs to be let's say 2 centimeters longer. Can't remember exactly, but I made it 2 centimeters. If you cut it here, then that's not possible because there's a little bit bent. Now it's exaggerated, it's bigger. What I have done, I've cut it now like this, so the piece is still the length I need it to be, and then with the extension it works out. And I ground the top, what's sticking out of the previous bend, off, and the bottom is a little bit less thick, but with welding that will be resolved. But it would have been better to say I cut it here a bit longer and make the extension piece like a centimeter longer as well. I haven't done that, but it will work out in the end anyway, so that's not really a problem. So for the cover plates, I made an inverted V on it, so I know how they work together. They need to be a little bit narrower because the height also changes a little bit. So I cut it off, but yeah, I want to keep it together the way it was. It doesn't really matter, but sometimes you don't always think of things that can happen. So keeping the pieces together as good as possible the way they were is best. So yeah, this it needs to take a few pieces out for the latch, and then I need to weld a strip on, sticks out a little bit with a notch so the latch can go in. So that's about what needs to be done on this piece. Yeah, I will prepare it. I will take off on the back side the temporary latches that I made, and then I can cut off a little bit of material that needs to be cut off, and yeah, prepare all the notches and everything. And then for the side plates it's a bit similar. I need to take the old tack welds and everything off, clean it up, and cut the back side off to make it longer, and top side I will take a little bit out and make it lower. So yeah, a bit of work, but in the end it will look like it should be. And yeah, so we will continue. So I have one of the Ammor, the shell, ready. Everything that has been welded already painted. There's the back portion of the second one, and then here are some parts, and then here is one of the sides. I have clamped it down all over the full length of the weld, so this one is going to be wider. It already has been lowered a bit, the red paint. And the reason I do this with the clamps and the beams is to keep it flat. Then after welding, let it completely cool down, and then I can get the clamps off and grind everything flush, and then it's reasonably flat. Looking at this one, you can see it's completely flat. So here's one more. This edge is already cut off, so that needs to be extended. And then it gets this angle for the back top portion. This will be against the hole. So we'll do the two sides and then the bottom plate. So this is the bottom plate, it needs to be extended here, so this is the bottom and that is the back. So we'll extend that. I already cut a piece off, and then we'll do it in the same way as the other piece I just showed you to extend it. Then I will put the sides on, and then I will put the top plate on, which will also be extended by, I think it's about just 5 or 6 millimeters, but otherwise it doesn't fit. So we'll put it on and then make it fit to the rest of the part. Then I'm sure that everything will be perfect. And when that is done, I can weld everything together. And after that I can start working on the internal parts, which will be riveted to the panels. So yeah, the boxes will stay out for now, but I'll hope that for Millitracks everything will be done and we can show you the inside of the Ammor racks as they should be. So I have finished these two parts, the left and the right hand side of the Ammor rack. This is already ground smooth. This is not, it's welded from one side. I hope it's a bit clear to see. You can see short welds. What I do is I start on one side of the part and weld to the end of the previous weld and make short welds, because when you're welding you're pushing tension up the material. So if you keep it short you have small spots with tension instead of pushing everything to one side. And with these settings, this was lying on the table, this was touching the table, but it didn't adhere to the table, so it's almost completely smooth. As you can see here, you can see a little bit. When I weld on this side as well, I have a lot more problems with warping. Now it's reasonably straight, and if I weld on this side it takes me maybe half an hour to get it straight again per piece. So I will paint it, and this is the other piece. So you can see it's very smooth. You see a few small spots, but here it's already painted, but no filler is used, and you can see a faint line and that's it. So yeah, everything is aligned quite well, and for this piece the same. Here you can't, yeah, now you can see it a little bit in the light from the grinding, and that's it. So I'm quite happy with the results, and now I'm gonna weld the bottom and back piece as one single plate, extend it to what it needs to be, and then adhere the two side pieces. So large piece is also welded. Here you can see the welds themselves, all short welds, and this piece also stayed reasonably flat. As this, now you can't see any bends, so that's good. And now it's time for the side pieces to be tacked in, and then I will show you how I do the top. The top will be welded separately, but I will put it on to scrape everything off, because the piece that I made is longer than it needs to be, and this way it's more easy to make it a perfect fit. I just have shown you this weld here. What I've done is ground flush the end pieces where I need to weld, and a lot more than I need to, because later on it's difficult to get into the corners. But yeah, for the rest of the weld it's easy enough to reach, also the one later on top, but the ones in the back also ground flush already, because yeah, it's more difficult to get to it. So I did that before, and these I will do later. So this is one of the pieces. You can see that this here, it is already touching, but here is still open. This bend was a little bit too far, but yeah, it's easy enough with clamps to get it out, so that's not a problem. And this is 25 millimeters, and originally I had a 35, but the measurements I got later showed that it needed to be this dimension, but of course it's easy enough to cut it off afterwards, and then I'm sure everything fits as it should be. So I will do that afterwards. First I will tack everything together. When that is finished, then I will cut off the pieces that I need to cut off. So I will start in the back, because there I have the correct dimension to keep it flush. So this needs to stick out 10 millimeters. And I can use the pliers to squeeze the seams shut and then tack it. So for this one, get the angle correctly. I can see it's probably difficult for you, but here's a little opening. So I need the top to get out. It's about correct. Now hold it. See if it's still correct. So that was one side. See how straight it is like this? Yeah, a little bit bowed. I'll put a straight edge up. When I tack it over here, I will put a straight edge on the back to keep it straight. Looks like it's short, but I guess these two are bent outwards. Over here it was sticking out a bit, I couldn't push it far enough backwards, so I'll scribe it again here, but we'll take off a little bit more on that side, but of course I want a straight line. Just need to leave the line a little bit, so we'll cut directly up to the line from this side, so keep the grinding disc on this side which I cut off. And then it should be a perfect fit, so I need to tack weld it, fit it again, and then I can see if I did it correctly or not. So I will take this piece off after I fit it again and it's all okay, then weld it and then put it back on, same way, grinding a little bit here, and then put it on, and when that everything is okay, then I will finish weld. So you just saw me cut off the excess piece, put it on top. We'll tack weld it here so that the depth is okay. I've checked it and everything looks good. And when I've tack welded it, I put it on the table and finish it. And after that I can put it back on and finish weld the whole part. You can see here there's a piece missing, but this needs to go inward a bit and not let that happen. And this is still a centimeter too wide, so let's do that first. So I will let it cool down when I can touch it with my bare hands, and it's cold enough, because there's a steel table underneath. It will cool down quite quickly, and when it's cooled down completely I can tack it on the rest of the frame, and when that is done I can finish weld everything. I still have to cut off these edges because they're too long, and yeah, make everything fit. I'll show you putting this in place, and after that I will finish the rest off camera. So it's already cold enough, only been like 2 minutes, but yeah, as I said, there's a thick steel table underneath, so it will cool down a lot faster, and that also helps prevent shrinking. So it has a little bit of a bow in it, but that's also because this part was hollow. I pushed it so it was not hollow again anymore, but I pushed it a little bit too far. Checking the other side, some true welds. So this is looking good as well. We'll clean up the first bit, because that I cannot reach when it's in, but the rest I can. So it's easier with the whole part and it doesn't move around. So I'll do that first, and then I will get it on, cut all the excess material off, and yeah, I'll see how it fits. As you could see with grinding, I never continuously grind with the sanding disc, because the sanding disc is quite heavy on the grinder itself, so the grinder will heat up quickly. And I'll lift it up, let it cool a few seconds, and then I'll continue grinding. So keep that in mind if you use like a sanding disc or a wire brush. that it is hard on your machine and that it's better to let it cool off in between. So we will cut off all the excess material and then I can start finish welding. I will show you a few of the short welds, how they go. You have the 2 sheet metal and then you weld on the edge. Normally this would be often done with spot welding. I don't know why they didn't, or maybe we only have seen pictures, but we have seen the welds on the edge, so maybe they did both. So I'm not sure of that because I haven't been at Aberdeen yet, or not at Aberdeen but at Fort Benning Museum, where the Nashorn of the United States is. But yeah, what I could see, it's only welded on the edge of the material and not spot welded. So yeah, we'll do the same. Check the dimensions. Outside is easier. 132 is 2 centimeters too long, so that's exactly right. This is a little bit less, but still within reason. And this is the same, so it's also this. The angle is correct. And this is looking a little bit bowed outwards, but yeah, with making the racks inside, it should correct itself because they are on an angle and they are quite stiff. So that will pull it in. I will straighten it out with a hammer first to make it as straight as possible. But yeah, this should be it. That's perfect. Okay, I'm gonna finish weld it, cut everything off, and then I'll show you the result. So I just showed you a few of the welds. It's the best I could do with the gear I have now. I'll have to still figure something out to make close-up shots of the welds the way I see it through a mask. So maybe put just like a welding mask in front of the lens. But yeah, that will be for a later video. What I've done is with a low setting from top to bottom, just like I showed you. It's difficult to see the details, but you can get the idea of it. So I'll have to finish off a few welds on the other side. Do that first, clean everything up, and then I'll shoot some close-ups of the welds, how they look now. Some of them look a little bit too nice for the way they did it back then, probably with oxyacetylene torch, like gas welding. So yeah, it looks a little bit different, but yeah, it still looks good and it is the same as original welds. So yeah, I'm happy about the result. And yeah, as I said, I'll finish it up and then I'll show you a close-up of the welds. So I promised you guys a close-up of the welding. Let's see if we can get it to work. So this is more or less like it was done back in the day, a little bit rough. And I have a few of these. So comparatively to the old ones, there's a little bit too nice. So I've got this part finished, and That's it for this video. Next one I will put the covers back on, start on the latches the way they originally were made. We have now good pictures and measurements, so I made a drawing of those parts. I will replicate those, put those on, and also there are two square tubes underneath. They will be bolted to the Ammor rack and welded to the hole, so then you can always take the Ammor rack off. And I have to see for the next video if I already installed them, or yeah, I'll do that together with some other parts that I still have to install. But yeah, for the next video I will start on the cover plates as said. The interior for the ammunition storage, that will be a later video, because those parts still have to be cut on a CNC machine, bent and all assembled, and I need wood parts, and I'm still working on the last bits of the drawing. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.